New Killer Wives, episode 55. Snow Angel. These are the case facts against Corey Richards, who poisoned her husband with fentanyl. Isn't trust a bitch? Park City, Utah, made famous by the 2002 Winter Olympics, the Sundance Film Festival, but also made famous by the murder of one Mr. Eric Richards.
Let's go, sir. You're not involved.
Saw you standing there, highway broken down. Thought I'd pull over and help you.
The desperate steal food because they are starving and thereby are forgiven their actions by compassionate people. In fact, most people would offer to pay for the offender's stolen merchandise because they can empathize with their plight. But who could empathize or understand a person who robs their own family? Such is the case of Mrs. Corey Richards, a wife who plotted to steal $500,000 from her husband's accounts, his life by murder, and $4 million of his life insurance policies. Corey came up with her brilliant plan to snuff out the life of her children's father to alleviate her own failed business practices. The only problem with Corey's brilliant idea to snuff out her husband's life was that she would leave too many amateur clues back to her own involvement. Corey would make 3 unsuccessful attempts on Eric's life. Luckily for Corey, she was no quitter. Shortly after 10 p.m. on March 3rd, 2022, Corey dissolved 5 times the lethal dosage of fentanyl in Eric's drink. While Eric lay dying in agony, Corey began texting a mysterious person for the duration it took Eric to gasp his last breath. Later, when detectives would question Corey's proximity to Eric's dying body, she would say that she was asleep in her children's bedroom. On March 4th at 3:22 a.m., Corey called Summit County 911 services to an unresponsive Eric. Eric's body was found at the foot of his bed, and he was declared dead at the scene by officials after efforts to save him failed. The next morning, before Eric's body had even cooled in the morgue, Corey threw a party to celebrate the closing on a mansion she purchased worth $2.5 million. The massive unfinished home also had a 3,000 square foot guest house. This property was already contentious, with locals deeming it an eyesore and calling for it to be torn down. These concerns did not bother Corey any more than her husband's death, because her intentions were not to live in the home, but flip it for profit. 2 weeks after she purchased the home, she placed it back on the market for about $5 million, or double her original purchase price. Initially, it would appear as if Corey had gotten away with the perfect murder. Seasons would change and life would go on with the belief that Eric might have died from an accidental poisoning. While it was even suggested that Eric may have been the cause of his own death by taking illicit drugs. But soon the truth would come to light. As that summer yielded to fall and fall to winter, detectives would intensify their investigation into Eric's mysterious death. Corey would continue to profit off her husband in death as she did in life. 2 days after his death, she had a locksmith come to the house and drill Eric's gun safe. The safe contained nearly $165,000 in cash. More importantly, Corey believed she would inherit his large estate of $3.6 million in the death as agreed by the terms of a prenup agreement they signed back in June of 2013. What Corey didn't know was that Eric stopped trusting her long before his death and had made his sister a state executor. When one of Eric's sisters came to the house to tell Corey she had no rights to the money in the safe, Corey got enraged and punched Eric's sister in the face and neck. This would be the first time that Corey would learn that Eric had changed his will. By March of the following year, still being greedy for money, Corey would complete a children's book on helping kids cope with losing a parent through death. Corey would tell everyone she knew that it was her idea to help her children deal with losing their father. What Corey neglected to mention in this book was that she was the cause of her children losing their father. Here's Corey promoting her book on Good Things Utah morning show.
A sibling or friend talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject. Joining us now is author of Are You With Me, Corey Richens, to share her 3 C's to helping kids cope with grief. And Corey, I want to start with your story. What happened in your personal life?
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year. And, hoping that it can kind of help other kids, deal with this and kind of, find happiness some way or another.
And to make sense and process, I'm sure. And I'm sure you felt that going through and trying to explain it and articulate it for you and your boys.
Yes, exactly. And so I've done, I'm new to all of this, so kind of doing all, research and reading books and things to try and understand, not only how to grieve as a widow, as a wife, but also, with my kids, how to help them understand what just happened. And what I have kind of found is, as I mentioned, it's kind of the 3 C's is how I visualize it. And it's, connection, continuity, and care. And it's, making sure connection is the major one, and making sure that their spirit is always alive.
Eric's family featured here would suffer the loss of his mom before his death. They will remember Eric through happier times, like when he first got married, but this would not deter them from going after his wife. Long after Eric's death, they would find out exactly what type of woman she really was. They discovered through records that Corey obtained and spent a $250,000 home equity line of credit on his Kamas home, that she withdrew at least $100,000 from his bank accounts, and spent more than $30,000 on his credit cards. They would find out that Eric knew she stole at least $134,000 in funds intended for his quarterly tax business report. And finally, they would see her planning his death through insurance purchases. In January 2022, Corey Richens applied for a new $100,000 insurance policy on her husband's life. 1 week after that policy was issued, Corey allegedly obtained illicit fentanyl from an acquaintance, one of 2 such purchases made across 2 weeks in February and totaling $1,800. Detectives would descend on the widow's home and arrest her on May 8, 2023. Corey would face charges of aggravated murder and possession of a controlled substance with the intent to distribute. The couple also had a premarital agreement stating that neither would have rights to the other's present or future earnings, property, or assets unless Eric Richardson died while the 2 were lawfully married. At the time of Eric's death, not only did he change his will and refuse to buy the mansion, but he had every intention of divorcing Corey, and she knew it. As of the publication of this video, Corey Richens is in the midst of court proceedings for the murder of her husband by poisoning. She is presumed innocent until proven guilty. In a statement following Eric's death, Corey told police she performed CPR on Eric after finding him unresponsive in their home. But the fire crew and medics who responded to the scene said this was unlikely, as there was blood coming from his mouth. In the years before his death, Eric told his family he feared his wife was trying to kill him. There were 2 occasions when Eric became violently ill after having drinks or dinner with Corey. One of Eric's sisters told police he had called over 3 years ago from Greece, where he and Corey were on vacation together. He claimed Corey had given him a drink that made him violently ill and said he believed she had tried to kill him. In these official indictment papers, you can read several charges of Corey purchasing fentanyl from a maid she employed in her efforts to poison Eric. Additionally, Corey obtained several other life insurance policies on Eric without him knowing about it. In fact, she obtained it just 2 years after the marriage. Between 2015 and 2017, she took out at least 4 life insurance policies with an aggregate value of $1,947,000.
Until next time.